Sawasdee krap and welcome to Thailand News Today, coming to you from our offices at the Thaiger. Bit of construction noise downstairs, hope that doesn't interfere too much. And a big shout out to London Chinese Cabbie. Thank you very much for becoming a member. But for now, let's get started on today's main news stories. Custom Google Maps pinpointing hundreds of people in Thailand who are accused of opposing the monarchy have been taken down by Google. The Google My Maps, targeting anti-monarchy activists, mostly students, listed their names and addresses. The maps were prepared by a team of 80 royalist supporters who plan to report the activists for allegedly insulting the monarchy. Under the country's lèse majesté law, those who insult or defame the Thai monarchy can face up to 15 years in prison. The personalised digital maps allow Google users to save places to a map, share the map to have others edit, and publish the map on a blog or a website. Google says the issue is now fixed, adding that the company will remove maps that violate the policies, but did not go into detail. Over the past year, a number of pro-democracy activists, including university students, have faced charges under the lèse majesté law following protests and calls for monarchy and government reform. A manhunt has wrapped up in northeastern Thailand after a man was arrested suspected of killing his 72-year-old father, allegedly over welfare money. The victim's body was discovered buried behind his home in Buriram yesterday. Nearby villagers had become concerned after they hadn't seen the man for a couple of days. Their concern was increased when they saw blood near their house and a freshly dug hole. Dried coconut branches had been spread over the hole in what looked like an attempt to camouflage it, so the villagers contacted the police. When emergency responders dug up the hole, they found the man's body. Police believe he was killed with a machete and that the body had been in the grave for up to 3 days. The man's son was arrested earlier today and has allegedly confessed to murdering his father. Meanwhile, in Chiang Mai, police were looking for a man who allegedly killed a 63-year-old noodle seller. Despite being rushed to hospital, the woman, who had suffered stab wounds, was later pronounced dead. Once at the scene, police found an unresponsive woman lying in a pool of blood. Customers of the shop reportedly told police that a young man had arrived at the shop on a black Honda motorbike. He's alleged to have stabbed the vendor in the neck and back and then ripped off her gold chain. He then sped off on his motorbike. The 35-year-old suspect was later arrested at the car care shop in Sap Sawang Market. High heels were lined up on the ground and underwear was tied to a gate outside the Government House in Bangkok this morning as the city's sex workers and other bar and nightlife staff called for monthly cash handouts. Restrictions have closed down bars and nightclubs, leaving most out of work for months, some for longer. Only a group of around 20 gathered due to restrictions on gatherings of more than 20 people. Pairs of high heels were neatly placed outside with messages attached. A sign said, "No money, no honey, no GDP." Those at the rally, backed by the Thai sex worker organisation Empower Thailand, asked the government for a 5,000 baht handout each month. Whilst the issue of prostitution and the work of many bar girls in Thailand remains hush-hush and their work is not recognised by government officials, the workers have no government financial trampoline to help them through the pandemic. And we'll be back with more Thailand News Today right after this break. Over the weekend, 2 vans arrived at a textile factory in Nonthaburi, a central province just north of Bangkok. Health workers in protective suits emerged from the vans. They were a local international hospital and took away 60 men and women who had tested positive for COVID-19. Some of the people showing symptoms were also taken to a local field hospital. But the factory remained open for business, and the staff were less than excited about this development. So 1,500 of the workers protested yesterday morning. They were demanding the factory close. Mass testing was provided, and then benefits to the employees were also provided until the situation could be sorted out. As of now, the factory, which hasn't been named at this stage, is still open. The trial of former Burmese leader Aung San Suu Kyi is set to overrun as the prosecution says it needs more time. There are still around 23 witnesses waiting to be called by the prosecution, and Suu Kyi's lawyer has confirmed the trial will go on a bit longer than anticipated. Suu Kyi is currently under house arrest and has been hit with an array of charges, ranging from violating COVID-19 restrictions to illegally importing walkie-talkies. The former leader was ousted in a sudden military coup last February, which led to widespread protests and calls for her release. The pro-democracy protests were instead met with a violent crackdown where the military junta allegedly killed over 800 civilians. As the southern island of Phuket gets ready to reopen to vaccinated foreign tourists on Thursday, hotel operators say they're well prepared. Yesterday, PM Prayut Chan-o-cha highlighted the need for robust measures to stop the spread of COVID-19. Hotels around the island are winding up their social media to try and get a piece of the tourist love as Thailand officially opens up its doors, albeit with a raft of paperwork and restrictions in place. As of today, people trying to get a certificate of entry are being told they have to prepay all their PCR tests, that would be 3, for their time on the island. We've also had messages from people saying that the embassy will only accept prepaid bookings from the TAT's SHA Plus website and not online travel agents like bookings.com, hotels.com, Goda, etc. According to figures from the Tourism Authority of Thailand, 460 Phuket businesses and 300 hotels on the island have now achieved Amazing Thailand Safety and Health Administration accreditation. Well, there's a lot more happening around Thailand at the moment, and we've tried to encapsulate some of it on Thailand News Today. But for all the latest news, especially about the Sandbox, you can go to thetiger.com. And please, we've also got these free apps, one for Android, one for Apple, and they both give you a one-button press to a world of news, including World News, which is hosted by our partners Deutsche Welle. So thank you very much from all of us at the Thaiger and Thailand News Today. We look forward to seeing you again tomorrow.